Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming my eyeshadow ranking video for the month of May, and I have 15 eyeshadow palettes to rank for you guys. So if you're curious to hear my thoughts on some newer makeup palettes as well as some old ones, then just keep watching. If this is your first time visiting my channel, welcome. My name is Karen Harris. I like to film tan girl friendly makeup videos here on my channel, and yeah, we just like to play with eyeshadow palettes, talk about new makeup, anti-haul things. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would highly recommend turning on that notification bell, subscribing to my channel, and without further blabbering, let's get into the video. Okay, so I have 15 palettes to rank, and honestly, this is a little sketchy because there's some really good stuff in here, and I tried so hard to be as diplomatic and as thorough as I could be, but I wish some of these could all rank in the top together, but they're so different, and rankings can be tough, which I think is why people really enjoy them, because rather me than you, right? That's how I see it. Anyway, let's start off with the palette on the bottom. Honestly, if you saw my first impressions of this palette, you wouldn't be surprised, but it is the Give Me Glow Pastel Dreams palette. Now, I had high hopes for this palette because they actually launched this color story as singles last year, and it sold out so quickly I wasn't able to get my hands on it. I hummed and hawed over whether I should pick this palette up, and I went ahead and did it, and I low-key regret buying this because I had a lot of hopes and dreams with this palette that it was going to be like the end-all be-all of pastel palettes, and it's really not. It's a little bit too light for me. I don't really like the pigmentation. The metallics are nice, but the mattes definitely leave a lot to be desired. I feel like my favorite pastel palette honestly is the Glamlight Ice Cream palette. I need to try that one some more too, if I'm being honest, because I haven't used it in a while, but oh, this one was just not very pleasant to work with, so that's why I'm ranking it at number 15. In 14th place is another pastel palette. It's this one from BH Cosmetics. Now this one is a little bit better than the Give Me Glow one, honestly, and it's also a bit more affordable. I actually really thought the eye look that I did with it looked way better on camera than it did to me in person, but sometimes we're our own worst critics, so maybe it wasn't that bad, and like in my head I just didn't enjoy it, but it was just okay. The metallics are pretty nice, and yeah, it's a nice palette, but it's not my favorite. Also, I wish there was more depth here. The deepest shade is a brown, and I just don't get why brands keep doing palettes where it's just mid-tone shades, so yeah, because of that reason, this is in number 14. Okay, in 13th place is another BH palette, and this is the 80s palette. Now, this one is actually a pretty nice rainbow-esque palette. The shades are very beautiful and they pop on my skin tone, so I do like it for that. Again, this palette isn't bad. It's just that I have so many other palettes that I really enjoyed, so I'm ranking this at number 13. Okay, in 12th place is this guy. This is the Lethal Cosmetics Rights palette, I think it's called. It's from the collection called the Roots collection, and I like this palette. I just don't love the mattes with the shimmers that they offered. I felt like the look again was very nice on camera, but in person I just didn't love it as much as how it looked on the actual footage. So I don't know, it was just okay. It's not my favorite palette from Lethal by any means, and again, I feel like there was a lot of mid-tones and then no like deepening up shade for me. Of course, you can like mix and match your own like combination of these eyeshadows, so you don't have to get it in this format, so you're not stuck with this color story if you don't like it. But I feel like with my skin tone I would have appreciated like a deepening up shade, so I could have a little bit more smoky, colorful eyeshadow looks with this palette. Okay, in 11th place is the Flower Punk palette. Now, my favorite thing from this collection is honestly the lipsticks. I really enjoy those Kaleidos lip clays. You guys know I was wearing them all the time in different videos, and I made sure I mentioned that because I was really impressed with that formula. I really like this half of the palette, but it's grungy greens, and I feel like a lot of palettes do grungy greens really well. I wasn't as jazzed with the color story on this side of the palette. It's a nice palette, but overall, this is probably my least favorite Kaleidos palette, if I'm being really honest with you guys. Okay, in 10th place is the 2000s palette from BH Cosmetics. This one is honestly lovely. I think the formula and the pigmentation and the color story in this one is the most standout. I don't really know like how much purple had an influence on the 2000s. I mean, I don't really do a lot of research into stuff like that and the themes, but I feel like if they had done something more like this with the other two palettes, it would have been a more cohesive color story. Love the inclusion of this like dark navy shade. It's so beautiful. Pigmentation's great. I love the metallics. Like, this is a more like cohesive color story for me, so I really appreciate this palette from BH Cosmetics. Okay, in 9th place, I'm going to give it to the Juvia's Place Blush Palette. This is such a pretty palette. I love the pigmentation of these shades. Again, I feel like this palette was also missing some deepening up shades. So if you have like a medium to deep skin tone, I don't know like how much of a smoky blush look you can do with this, but I just thought it was okay. You're going to see the other Juvia's Place palette in this video that's ranked much higher than this, and there's a reason I did that, because I prefer the color story of that one. This one's okay, great Juvia's Place quality. I just wasn't in love with the color story. Okay, next we have the Midas Perception palette. This was a collaboration palette with the Basic Bee, and this is a really fun palette, and Midas did include these like beautiful duochrome shades in here, so that was really fun to play with, and there's just a lot of fun colors, and I love a good mixed bag of colors like this, so I had a lot of fun playing with this palette. These eyeshadows are really fun and pigmented, so very happy with the palette, and this was sent to me from Midas Cosmetics. I do have a code with them, and I am an affiliate as well, so I just want to make that clear to you guys. But yeah, it's a nice palette. I really like the inclusion of the fun duochrome shades in this palette, because I feel like Midas hasn't really done that before. Next is the last BH palette in this video. We have the Let That Ish Go palette. This is a cute little 9-pan green and neutral palette. Just a really solid palette from BH Cosmetics. I am a huge fan of green eyeshadow, of course, and this is really the only like predominantly green palette I think in this video. I would have loved it if it was all green instead of like the 4 neutral shades that are in here, but alas, it is what it is. I really think my favorite green palette from BH is the Ice Cream Shop's Pistachio palette, but I don't think that's coming back anytime soon, so just trying to make it work with what we have at this point. Next is an oldie, but of course a goodie. This would have probably ranked higher if I wasn't trying to give the other palettes a little bit of a chance, but this is the Metropolis palette. I did use this in a eye look that I just created, I think, for myself. I don't think I filmed it for my channel. But yeah, this palette I think was supposed to be limited edition. I'm not sure if I think it's still available. I think if you want it, you can still get it. I don't know when she'll discontinue it, but this is still in my like top 3 of Natasha Denona palettes, so love it so much. Okay, in 5th place, I gave it to the Bronze palette from Juvia's Place. This is such a pretty color story. I just love it. It's nothing revolutionary. It's not gonna like make you like lose your mind, but I really like this. It almost reminds me actually of the new Supreme Bronze palette I've been like losing it over from Artist Couture. So if you don't want to spend the money on the Artist Couture one, you could probably achieve some of the warm tone looks with this palette, but honestly I think you could have both. But I really like this palette. I think it's really pretty, and I can't wait to see what Juvia's Place does next, because they've been really doing some fun things with these mini palettes. I would love to see a mini green palette, so if somebody from Juvia's Place could make that happen for me, I would really appreciate it. Okay, the top 4 is really just full of neutrals, so like hold on to your horses. In 4th place, I have to talk about this Sigma palette. This is not something that I necessarily needed in my life, but it's so good. And I know Sigma's been having like some sales. I think they're doing like a semi-annual sale. Just another solid, neutral, good palette from Sigma. I don't know that there's anything else I can say that's going to be revolutionary, that's going to like blow your mind, and you're going to want to go buy this. If you like neutrals, you're going to like this palette. If you don't like neutrals or you don't need neutrals, you don't need to buy this palette. I personally love Sigma and their eyeshadow formula, so of course I am so happy I have this. This was also gifted to me. They did send it to me, and I really, really like this palette. Okay, so we got like a mix of mainstream and a little bit of indie in the top 4. So the Ambiance palette was obviously mainstream. And then we have an indie palette. It is this palette from the Glam Shop. I cannot remember what it's called. Oh my gosh. Apparently, oh, oh no, a shadow's broken in here. I didn't even realize. I wonder if I dropped this. Ugh. This palette is messy. I'll tell you that much. I don't know how it got to me without shattering, but I got a whole mess on my hands. Gotta love that. I gotta go to work after this, and I was trying to quickly get a video film just so I could keep up with my post, but oh well. Gonna try and clean it up quick. Messy. Ugh. Anyway. Okay, so this is their, like, one of their newer palettes. It's not their newest palette. I know they've already launched some other things. Okay, I have to... Darn it. This is why I don't like to wear white. Because I swear I'm gonna, like, spill. Oh, well. Anyway. Okay, so this is the palette. I really like the metallics in this palette. This was my first time trying the Glam Shop, so I was very impressed with this one and the camo palette that I picked up. So yeah, if you've been thinking about trying their eyeshadows, I would recommend. Just be careful not to drop it, because apparently I must have dropped it. I can't imagine how else it would have broken. So that is in the 3rd spot. Okay, 2nd place is the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. And honestly, I didn't think I was going to like this palette as much as I did. And I've really been gravitating towards the neutrals in this palette. I mentioned in my video of this palette that I actually didn't like the Mini Zendo. So I was very skeptical that I was gonna like this palette, but I like this one so much more than the Mini Zendo. So very happy that I did not pass on it, which is what I was thinking I was gonna do. But it's nice. You can do some beautiful blue looks. You can combine the looks. You can do a solid neutral look. I think this is my favorite Natasha Denona mini palette. It's either this one or the bronzed. I can't quite decide, but I think those are definitely my 2 favorites. The other 3 I couldn't really care any less about, but I really like this palette. Okay, so the number 1 spot is going to an indie brand, and honestly, I had this in number 2, but I'm like, really? You are not about to rank a Natasha Denona palette over the Codain palette from Adept Cosmetics. This is such a pretty palette. Oh my goodness. I feel like brands that just do these like fun shimmery palettes are really onto something. I feel like I have all the mattes I could ever want in my life at this moment in time. So I'm okay with brands just releasing fun sparkly eyeshadows. I know a lot of indie brands tend to do them as singles, but there's something so nice about being able to just get some gorgeous metallics in a palette. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I said all I had to say. These are so fun and unique, and such a great way to get some multi-chromes, some beautiful duochromes. I really like the Adept formula, and they did gift this to me as well. So very thankful to Adept Cosmetics for sending me this palette. I also have a code with them. I almost forgot. So KH Makeup will save you money if you're interested in purchasing this. Highly recommend checking out the video if you're curious about this. I don't know if this is in stock right now. I will check. Otherwise, they usually have pre-orders happening, and you can follow them on their social media to see that. So that is the 1st place for the month of May. And that is everything for this ranking video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back next month with my June rankings video. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you in my next video soon. Bye, guys!